everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com and it's time for another lovely news update. Lots of news today, as you will have seen already. Tom Campbell's got a news video up on the channel already, and it's time to look at some more lovely wrestling news. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at those wonderful headlines. First of all, a former WWE superstar has shared a new look which was rejected while he was with the promotion. Next up, NXT have revealed details of the next TakeOver event, which has a very interesting theme. And finally, Undertaker has explained that now infamous moment when he called out Brock Lesnar at a UFC event. Now, since WWE released all those superstars, a lot of them have been promoting themselves in various different ways, whether it's doing interviews or teasing appearances in other promotions in the future, or in the case of Lio Rush, doing just a lot of different things. Yes, the former NXT superstar and Raw superstar, let's not forget that he was also Bobby Lashley's manager for a time. He's been doing a variety of different things, music, he even tweeted that he may never wrestle again, but also he's been selling a lot of gear online. There's various jackets and bits of ring attire and everything, and you can find all of that on Lio Rush's Twitter page, but one piece of attire in particular has really caught everybody's attention. The item in question was this mask, or prototype of a mask. Lio Rush was very keen to point out that it was just a prototype, not what the finished version would ideally look like, but we're going to flash that up on screen around about this point. Obviously, the tweet there says, "Once upon a time, I had a vision of wearing a mask, but Triple H said no, LOL. This is just a prototype. Anyway, it's now for sale," and then he's got his contact info and stuff there. It's a very interesting look, isn't it? He's not really given any info on why he wanted to wear the mask. Obviously, Lio Rush doesn't normally wrestle in a mask, but I'm guessing there would have been some sort of character development or storyline reason for him doing so, but obviously this didn't mesh very well with NXT's idea of what Lio Rush was going to do going forwards, and then unfortunately he did get released, so we never really got to see what was next for Lio Rush after he lost the Cruiserweight Championship. My best guess is that the mask was some kind of symbolic reinvention or rebirth, possibly after moving back down to NXT, possibly after losing the Cruiserweight Championship. It seems like at some sort of turning point in his WWE career, that's when Lio Rush would likely want to come along with this mask on and really reinvent himself. And you can't deny, even though it looks a little bit, well, prototypey because it is the prototype, you can't deny that it's a very striking look. I'm not exactly certain how this would have gone over or why it was in fact rejected by Triple H and NXT. Maybe Lio Rush will reveal in the future the exact reason why his mask was rejected. Maybe it's just simply a case of, you want to do this with your character, we don't want you to do this with your character, we've got other ideas, so let's not do that. But it's certainly an interesting one, and it again raises the debate of how much input a wrestler should be allowed, or perhaps more specifically how much input a WWE superstar should be allowed over their own character and their own direction and their own image. So very interesting stuff there, and if you are curious about what sort of things Lio Rush is selling, just check out his Twitter page. All the details are on there. There's some really interesting stuff, but that mask does actually take the cake. Next up, on last night's NXT, we got details of the next NXT TakeOver event. It's going to take place on June 7th, but that's not the most eye-catching thing here. The eye-catching thing is the name of the TakeOver event and the theme, and so many old school fans are getting really excited on social media, and I can't exactly blame them either, to be honest. That's because the next TakeOver is going to be called NXT TakeOver in Your House, and it's even got the classic In Your House graphic as well. It's just so very 90s. Triple H revealed in this announcement that the decision was made to call it In Your House for two reasons. First of all, we are approaching the 25th anniversary of the first ever WWE In Your House event, and also he just basically said a lot of people are spending time in their houses at the minute, so what better way to bring the entertainment to you than by saying it's in your house? I guess it thematically does make sense. And there's even a little bit more to this news story than maybe at first meets the eye as well, because with this announcement, WWE have kind of confirmed that TakeOver events are going to continue happening despite the ongoing pandemic. Obviously, the last TakeOver event was meant to take place over WrestleMania weekend, but everything that was going to happen at WrestleMania weekend, apart from WrestleMania itself, got scrapped, so that never came to fruition. Instead, those matches were kind of broken up and dispersed around weekly episodes of NXT to varying degrees of success and varying degrees of, I guess, positivity from the fans. But I think we can all probably agree that everything would have gone a lot better if all of those excellent big, matchups had been confined to one big show over WrestleMania weekend. But of course, that just couldn't happen. So this is exciting news for fans of NXT and for fans of NXT TakeOver shows. I'm a fan of those TakeOver shows because more often than not, they do provide some really, really good action. Hopefully, there's a good card for this event coming up, as I mentioned, on June 7th. And also, hopefully, they do incorporate some kind of old school element, whether that's via set design or maybe a few guest appearances, maybe not in person, but, you know, via a promo on the Tron or something. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but it certainly is different, and I think that's a good thing. And also, I guess technically, it's going to be the first In Your House event since 1999, so fans of the old In Your House pay-per-views, you only have to wait 21 years for it to happen again. Now, last week's match on AEW Dynamite, that big tag team street fight brawl between Jericho and Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega, really did draw a lot of praise online. A lot of people loved that match. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious and entertaining, and everybody seemed to agree that, or a lot of people seemed to agree, that it was a really good use of the empty arena concept. Well, if you, like many of us, did enjoy that match, then get excited, because it seems as though AEW are not done yet. That's right, last night on Dynamite it was revealed that there'll be another similar sort of match taking place at Double or Nothing, but on an even grander scale. Last night, Jericho challenged the members of the Elite to a Stadium Stampede match between the Elite and the Inner Circle. He didn't fully elaborate on what the rules of the match are going to be, but he did seem to imply that it's going to be like last week's Street Fight, but bigger and inside of a bloody stadium. Yes, handily for AEW, you know, Daily Place is attached to the Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium, and handily as well for AEW, the Khan family, the Jacksonville Jaguars. You all see what I'm saying here. Basically, they may be given free license or a decent amount of license to run absolutely wild across a whole football stadium. It's going to be quite something. It's going to be quite a spectacle, and it could even potentially, I guess, main event that pay-per-view. I wonder if this is a total replacement to the Blood and Guts match which was going to take place between the Inner Circle and the Elite, or whether it's just a stopgap along the road to that eventual Blood and Guts match. I can't quite see Cody Rhodes turning his back on that stipulation, if I'm being honest. I think that seems like one of those things that AEW will pick up and resume once again when everything's a bit more back to normal. But that wasn't the only match added to Double or Nothing last night, provided of course that the Elite accept the challenge, which I'm guessing they're going to. It would be really funny though if they just went, no, we don't fancy that, boys. But 3 more matches were announced last night for the pay-per-view. Nyla Rose will defend her AEW Women's Championship against Hikaru Shida in a no DQ, no countout match. Britt Baker will take on Chris Statlander, no stipulation, I guess, attached to that one. And also on the pre-show, there'll be a #1 contendership match for those tag team titles between Private Party and the Best Friends. Double or Nothing, of course, will take place on May 23rd, so that's not this weekend, but next weekend, and it's looking pretty stacked now. The card's sort of filling out, and we already knew about some of the other matches, such as, of course, Jon Moxley defending his AEW World Championship against Brody Lee, even though that dastardly Brody Lee is still in possession of the physical belt itself, and of course the match between Cody and Lance Archer for the TNT Championship to decide the inaugural TNT champion. And the belt's going to be presented to them, as you'll have seen in Tom Campbell's news video earlier today, by Mike Tyson. They're really pulling out all the stops here, aren't they? They need to stop showing off. It's time now to talk about the biggest injustice of the century. I am referring, of course, to WWE's decision to strip Sami Zayn of the Intercontinental Championship. There's been a lot of controversy since then, a lot of support for Sami Zayn as well, and rightly so. Fight the power, because if Brock Lesnar can hold onto a major world title and turn up once every few months and sometimes jog on the spot and bounce around in the middle of the ring on Monday Night Raw to promote the eventual title match and then win it and then retreat to his lair and keep a hold of that belt for another few months, then Sami Zayn should be allowed to still be IC champion, in my humble opinion. A tournament to decide the new champion is going to take place on SmackDown, and yes, it hopefully will have some good matches, but that is not justice for Sami Zayn. And it turns out I'm not the only person aggrieved by this. The man himself has responded as well. Sami Zayn has issued a couple of tweets in response to the situation. First of all, he said, "I disagree with this decision, and no matter what anyone says, I am still undefeated and therefore still the Intercontinental Champion. Sami, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, if we look at the official records, the IC title is now vacant, which is a terrible, horrible shame and a serious miscarriage of justice." He then responded to a tweet from the WWE on Fox Twitter account, who were doing one of those things for engagement. You know, they were saying the new Intercontinental Champion should be, and then a blank space, and then it was our job, the fans, the universe, to type a little reply and say who we think should be the next IC champion. And Sami Zayn replied saying, well, he completed the sentence, so it read, "The new IC champion should be," ashamed of themselves, which I think is a really fair point. All in all, since defeating Braun Strowman for the title at Elimination Chamber, Sami Zayn's title reign eventually clocks in totally at 66 days, which is a shame. It should have been longer. There should have been more action, but obviously that's not Sami's fault given the ongoing situation. Here at WWE, it's not actually Sami's fault. He did, in fairness, defend it at WrestleMania against Daniel Bryan, which I suppose is a good thing. But on the whole, if you're a fan of Sami Zayn, you have to be disappointed, especially because this was his first singles title. His first title, I think, of any description on the main roster. Yes, he was NXT champion, but on Raw and on SmackDown, this was his only taste of gold in so many years. About 4 years now he's been on the main roster. Oh, it's really sad. And finally, if you were a fan of WWE 10 years ago or a fan of the UFC 10 years ago, then you'll probably remember this incident. I'll set the scene for you. Brock Lesnar had just lost his UFC Heavyweight Championship to Cain Velasquez, and obviously Brock will get his win back a decade later in Saudi Arabia, and that was really weird. But yes, Brock had just lost the gold, and upon leaving the octagon, shared a little stare down, a bit of a confrontation with none other than The Undertaker from WWE. Brock was in UFC at the time. It was such a melding point of worlds. It was insane. And it seemed at the time like Undertaker was challenging Brock Lesnar to an MMA match, to get in the octagon and go at it, which would have ended, I mean, I'm not an expert MMA pundit or anything, but I suggest that would probably have ended pretty badly for Mr. Calloway. Overall, it's looked back upon as a very weird and slightly cringeworthy moment, which did take attention away from basically the rise of this new young heavyweight star in Cain Velasquez. It didn't take too much attention away because he went on to become a much bigger star. But it doesn't matter because Undertaker has now shed some light on the situation, speaking to the Dave Meltzer of MMA, Ariel Helwani. Undertaker's revealed that he wasn't doing that of his own free will. He was sent there to call out Brock Lesnar. He said to Ariel Helwani, "I was there to pick a fight. I was sent there personally to pick a fight, and I was unaware that Dana White had no clue what was going to happen," which I felt horrible about after the fact. I guess there is a certain sense of guilt and sort of shame when you rock up to someone else's promotion in an entirely different medium and challenge one of their fighters, and it turns out that the president of that promotion had no idea it was going to happen. I mean, imagine if Conor McGregor turned up at WrestleMania and called out Seth Rollins. Vince McMahon would be absolutely livid. No, he'd probably be seeing dollar signs actually. But Undertaker thought there had been some sort of agreement between Dana White and Vince McMahon prior to this, and apparently not. Apparently Undertaker was just sent there, off you go, call out Brock Lesnar, and we'll see where things head down the line. Taker said there was no personal animosity really, but it was basically me saying, alright, you left our world, I'm going to come into your world, and I'm going to call you out. And obviously the pair never actually did meet in the sport of MMA, but 2 years later they did meet infamously at WrestleMania 30, where Brock Lesnar snapped Undertaker's undefeated streak in a decision which still breaks hearts to this day. So that's it for this news video, and that is my match recommendation as well. Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar, if you can bear to watch it at WrestleMania 30. Just listen to the silence and the shock when the referee's hand hits the canvas for a third time. If you can't bring yourself to watch it and you're really heartbroken still at the fact that Undertaker lost that match, then maybe check out, yeah, you know what, I've just thought, because I mentioned Conor McGregor calling out Seth Rollins or whatever, why not check out Floyd Mayweather versus The Big Show in another clash between a wrestler and someone from a different sport? And it's one of the best non-wrestler wrestling matches, I think, in WWE history. Thanks very much for watching this video. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Stay safe out there, keep yourselves positive, and I'll see you very soon.